This video is sponsored by Grammarly. I would be lying if I said I didn't question my own skills and work ethic after discovering the biggest internet horror phenomenon of the past year was popularized by a 16-year-old. Now, I know Kane Parsons didn't create Backrooms. Like most of these creepypastas, Backrooms began life as an anonymous 4chan post from 2019 about the sickly, surreal, uneasy vibes of liminal spaces, which saw another user describe the Backrooms as no clipping out of reality where something sinister lurks around one of the endless corridors. However, I think we can all agree that it wasn't until Kane Parsons began releasing his series of short films from January 2022 did Backrooms become the mainstream enigmatic legend it is today. If you watched my recent Slenderman video, I mentioned wanting to review Backrooms because besides watching videos by Nexpo, Nick Crawley, Lizzie Masquerade, and Jacksepticeye, I'm genuinely new to the whole internet subgenre that is analog horror. That's of course, unless you count Silent Hill, Siren, or any pre-HD found footage film I've covered that roots itself in the gritty surveillance home video aesthetic. Despite seeing regular requests to cover the Backrooms, the reason I put off ever looking into it was because of my disillusionment towards anything cool being put into the hands of the internet. It mainly stems from a video I made a few years back talking about the Slenderman phenomenon, which I guess you could say was the big internet horror juggernaut of my generation. After having identical origins as a mysterious 4chan post in 2009, it wasn't until around 2012 did Slenderman become an inescapable trend due to the 8 Pages game, which I believe paved the way for the compelling but oversaturation of short-form indie horror games with an inbuilt desire to generate free publicity from Let's Players and MatPat. By the way, that's not a cynical knock at every game, because if it wasn't for certain content creators, I would have missed some fun and ingenious creations. In fact, the only reason I ever heard of Backrooms was because of Let's Play recommendations. Anyway, the point I wanted to make was that, like with Slenderman and SCP and any public domain creation, for me personally, I find the more the internet involves itself in building lore, the less fascinating the whole thing became. Of course, don't get me wrong, I love the sense of community it builds, because at the end of the day, everyone is just tapping into their giddy fascination, and who am I to gatekeep something that clearly brings people joy? However, in terms of my personal interests, as the famous quote somewhat goes, things work a hell of a lot better when you don't explain them. At this point, if you agree or disagree with my feelings, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, leave a cheeky wee like and subscribe for more videos like this, and before we dive deeper into the Backrooms, here are a few words from this video's sponsor, Grammarly. As someone who writes with a stream of consciousness delivery, one of my common fears is that my words either don't make sense, don't give off the right vibe, or there could simply be a much cleaner and efficient way of presenting them. That's where Grammarly comes in. This accessible digital writing assistant analyzes your writing style by going beyond traditional basic spelling and grammar functionality to provide you with genuine structural advice and help you adapt your writing to the specific tone of audience it's meant for. By using their website or installing their app, which for my iPad has a built-in switch for keyboards, Grammarly helps to not only better your productivity by proofreading and suggesting logical amendments, it also helps you to avoid misinterpretations in your tone, such as when writing hastily worded emails or letters when under pressure, thus improving your relationship with those you're working with, instead of accidentally coming off as too harsh or even too passive. Grammarly Premium even specifically adjusts your wording to make your tone appear capable, confident, and assured, which is perfect for me when reinforcing certain arguments in my scripts. For example, I'm currently working on a comparison between the Last of Us HBO series and the game, so having what is effectively a second opinion that knows exactly what I'm looking for, thanks to the ability to set goals that define the intent, audience, and formality of my writing, means I can stop second-guessing myself, reflect on my words, and in turn improve my writing and communication skills overall. Whether it's Google Docs, Microsoft Word, or even just your own email, you can integrate Grammarly into your daily life today by going to grammarly.com/ryanhollinger to sign up for an account, and if you would like to level up your writing and tone, upgrade to Grammarly Premium for 20% off. I always struggle to fit in with these internet creations because since the internet thrives on short-lived instantaneous reactions, by the time I get to it they're usually demystified by contrived overindulgent lore, which in the case of Slenderman went from this strange Lovecraftian child abductor to some teleporting time distortion mind control conspiracy. When the YouTube series Marble Hornets became the go-to mainline story, Slenderman just became boring and the whole mystique rapidly fell apart. It's the same problem with the Blair Witch sequel. Just give me an incomprehensible creepy entity and stop telling me how it works. I've said this dozens of times before, and Super Eyepatch Wolf long covered this when talking about Junji Ito. When you start explaining away ambiguity, you invite scrutiny because you're applying logic and rules that dictate our prior and future understanding of the thing. It's not to say explanation doesn't have its effect, but leaving some things a mystery sustains the allure of its legacy. For me, it's like being late to a house party only to find the house is burned down and everyone's moved the party down the street. Before I know it, the whole neighborhood is on fire and I'm left thinking, boy, I can't keep up with the original fun of these things, can I? I might be 29, but I'm not afraid to admit I'm a bit of a boomer when it comes to these internet trends, so in future, if you're going to request I cover the latest viral horror sensation, just know that I'm stuck in traffic from another millennium. Taking this into account, I went into the Backrooms with an inherent bias where I felt it was going to start as a wonderfully simple idea, inevitably overburdened with forced-in lore to milk its virality for all it's worth. But after watching the first 16 videos currently in circulation at the time of recording this, all I can say is, I'm so sorry I ever doubted you. So, it was recently announced that A24 would be producing a feature film by Kane Parsons while he's on his summer vacation, that latter bit being such a dystopian sentence, which sounds like the perfect pairing for Backrooms to get the collaborative backing it needs to build beyond its origins without compromising its integrity for the sake of maximizing its commercial viability. However, in its current form, Backrooms doesn't really need to be condensed into a feature film, because the delivery of short segregated videos that gradually build upon the lore is strikingly effective in a way that wonderfully fits the format of internet sleuthing. Mainly, there's a clear and consistent narrative logic that's never oversold to the viewer. We're given just the right amount of information and intrigue about what's going on without utterly spoiling the main mystery of just what exactly the Backrooms is. The initial short film, set in 1996, takes on the Blair Witch effect of throwing us into the world without any context as a narrative camera operator no-clips out of reality into a space of infinite corridors, eventually bumping into this glitchy straw monster thing and soon falling back into reality. On its own, it's a powerful little short film. It's weird and ominous, with the setting eliciting this nauseatingly unnatural feel, with the abstract creature working thanks to a stark alien sound design. With a strong foundation in place, it would be easy to ruin it by jumping straight into explaining what we just saw, but Parsons was clever enough to put us in the shoes of researchers who are as equally perplexed by the Backrooms as we are. As such, we learn about the world with the characters in real time, with subtle insinuations suggesting the researchers are also in the dark about certain dangerous specifics. Every video introduces a new haunting discovery thanks to a unique visual style that never feels cheap or inorganic. I appreciate Parsons' respect for the audience. It never tries to confuse you or force in motifs, red herrings, or cryptic visuals to give off the illusion it's some meticulous work of genius. Its intelligence comes purely from simplicity. Each short ends just as we hit a dramatic crescendo, making you hungry for more, only for each subsequent follow-up to take us either in a new direction or recontextualize what we just saw. After the 1996 short, we flash back to 1990, where each short slowly reveals the discovery of a portal leading to the Backrooms, and eventually the unsurprising reality that the shadowy organization researching it, called Async, are essentially trying to commercialize it as an infinite storage unit for industry processing, office space, shops, and even residential. They're basically turning an alien portal into a never-ending mall without truly knowing what they're dealing with, which thematically frankly is much more timely than simply another government agency using it for nefarious means. Adding ignorance to the human side of the story is a great way of maintaining the ambiguous alien nature of it, especially when early videos suggest the Backrooms can infect its inhabitants with fatal fungal bacteria. It works on top of an unsettling detail lingering in the background that the more async interferes with the Backrooms, the more it bleeds into reality in the form of no-clipping, hence the increasing disappearances leading to moments straight out of As Above, So Below. Unlike Marble Hornets, it's not leading you through time-wasting contrivances it has no idea how to explain. Backrooms doesn't, well, back itself into a corner. It shows restraint not to overindulge and knows how to follow through with its narrative. You can definitely see this through its visual influences like Annihilation, where scientists enter this unknowingly Lovecraftian entity only to lose part of their humanity in the process, or Stephen King's The Mist, where after poking and prodding at something that's clearly dangerous, don't expect it to play nice when it decides to fight back. By the end of the current series of videos I was watching, I stopped viewing the Backrooms as a place and started seeing it as an actual physical creature luring its prey in by mimicking our world. When we talk about the uncanny valley, we typically associate it to human features because that's where we generate most of our emotional responses. However, the Backrooms, and by extension the rising interest in liminal spaces, can really bring to life the subject of the uncanny environment. If you've ever seen the found footage film The Borderlands, and I know you have because a lot of you request it, you'll know what I mean when I say watching the Backrooms is like entering the belly of the beast. Now, if you're an existential person or just do really hard drugs, while the concept of liminal spaces has been around forever, its increasing influence on the horror genre cannot be understated, given how our relationship with the pandemic has made us reevaluate how we perceive isolation. What's scary about the Backrooms isn't the idea of something chasing me, it's the tangible fear of just being alone. At its core premise, Backrooms is about humans being subjected to a soulless void where they're trapped with their own thoughts. One of the most outstanding videos is called Pitfalls, where a character falls down a hole and discovers an empty neighborhood. While the eventual nightmare chase is powerful in its own right, it's the palpable melancholy that settles in that truly elevates the scene.
What is that? That is not a person!
Besides the basic setup of The Mist, there are two Stephen King stories that better encapsulate what the Backrooms is like. The first is a short story called The Jaunt, where humanity has discovered instantaneous teleportation across the universe, but for the procedure to work, humans have to be sedated before jaunting, and the reason for this becomes clear after a father tells his kids about its harrowing history as the family await to be teleported for the first time. Spoilers for The Jaunt, I highly recommend it. It's a harrowing short tale, but for those who want to know it, the story goes that a serial killer was offered a full pardon in exchange for jaunting without anesthetic, and instantaneously upon jaunting, they discover his hair has gone white, his eyes are peeled wide open, he's trembling, and simply tells them it's eternity in there before dropping dead. It's surmised that while jaunting is instant, for a conscious mind it feels agonizingly endless, with the story concluding with the father awakening to discover one of his children held their breath during anesthesia, now white-haired, twisting in pain, clawing at his eyes, screaming to his father, "Longer than you think, Dad, longer than you think." I mean, it certainly makes the Backrooms seem tame in comparison, but it's that complete terrifying subtraction of time and space that draws me back into the Backrooms. If it were to be explained, it would kill the impression of feeling like this insignificant, pointless rat in an experimental maze, kinda like the Cube when you think about it. Hell, since I like my Simpsons comparisons, it gave me the exact same feeling of sadness yet unflinching curiosity as that time Homer got trapped in an incomprehensible 3D realm. However, to put Backrooms into my brand of wild comparisons, it's like an MC Escher painting. It's a void of incomplete space, constantly and repetitiously distorting and reforming itself, shapeshifting what we cannot see with no regard to its subject, and the endless spiral they're going through. Philosophically, it plays off the idea that the only thing that exists is what's in front of your eyes. Behind you, everything simply ceases to be. It further plays into the creature itself. It has no true form, it's a theoretical glitch, akin to the premise of no clipping out of reality. In its simplest terms, it's the Matrix of haunted houses. Is it a real place, or just some sort of real-life version of lag? Are we beyond our current moment of existence and running to catch up with it? Or has somebody just laced my coffee with LSD? If you're still holding in there, don't worry, we're near the very end, but some of you have already worked out where I might be going with this. Going back to that other Stephen King comparison, have you ever seen or read The Langoliers? Okay, so you could say The Langoliers is spiritually similar to the Jaunt, in that it focuses on a group of passengers on a plane who awaken to discover humans have disappeared because the plane went through a rip in time, causing them to go into the past.
Why? Why was that done?
As such, the story sees the characters basically deal with their own existential problems while attempting to catch up with the present, as these weird ball munchers— wait, hold on, that's not the word I want. I mean, it does describe them. These weird Lovecraftian creatures are devouring the past because reality can only exist in the moment. This thought came to mind because of one particular video that stood out to me called I Remember, which narrates a haunting poem about doubting existence, how everything is real until it's not, how the world folds within itself and tears itself apart, how one day nothing will remain except for the eternal ghost. It speaks to me that the Backrooms isn't so much a real place than it is a state of slow, fragmenting destruction, echoed by no clipping now infecting reality. What started as a simple, creepy, liminal image of void and emptiness has manifested into a world now eating itself alive, leaving us in a space worse than perpetual darkness. Because probably the only thought worse than realizing nothing is left is seeing something no longer exist.